Brad?
Yes, I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying was, I said, I said last night, yes, there is a security issue. Okay, nobody's denying that there's not a security issue. Nobody wants terrorists to come to America. Nobody wants to be bombed. Nobody wants people to hate America. But you want to know what? We are breeding hatred in the immigrants who are not helping here, who we have invited to America for jobs and give them jobs, and then tell them that you have to live in the shadows without benefits, without driver's licenses, without the ability to move, without the ability to travel. I'm concerned that there's going to be a backlash from the immigrant community at some point. That I hope that there's no violence involved in this. But what's really disturbing to me is that people, who are against the driver's license, who are against granting illegal immigrants immigration benefits. These people are couching it in terms of security. We need security. We have to make sure that we don't get bombed because other than that, we may have a terrorist attack. Well, the reality is this. The reality is that the immigration system has been broken for 6-7 years, and anyone who's here out of status knows that if you want to get into America, you can get into America. Period. Okay. Yet, since since 2001, and that was September 11th was a terrible day. Don't get me wrong. And we lost 3,000 very good people. But since that day, we haven't been bombed once here in the United States of America. Not one terrorist attack. And prior to September 11th, 2001, there was only one other terrorist attack when the immigration laws were more liberal, and that was back in 1993 when they also tried to bomb the World Trade Center, and we lost 5 or 6 good people there. Okay, so since 1993, okay, to 2007. We have lost a total of about 3,500 people to terrorist attacks in the United States with very poor immigration laws, very poor immigration enforcement, very poor border security. And now they want to spend billions and billions of dollars to secure the border, make people's lives miserable, ruin families, ruin businesses, ruin the economy, okay, in the name of security. Yet, we can't find one blessed dollar to vaccinate every American against the flu. And yet 35,000 people die of flu each year. And according to health statistics, if we vaccinated, it would cost us about $100 million or something to that effect. If we vaccinated every American, every person in the United States, that number would almost go down to 0. Okay, but we don't have the money for that. Flu is a bigger killer than terrorists. What about road safety? There's 70 or 80,000 people die every year. We don't hear anybody yelling and screaming, let's get road safety. We're losing very good people in car accidents and in vehicular homicides. You don't hear anything about that. You hear about security of a possible terrorist bombing that happens once every decade, okay, when we've already had lax and unenforceable immigration laws. So what does that say? That says to me this whole security thing is a bunch of BS, because if they really were interested in security, if the United States of America was really interested in security, what better way to secure your country than to know who is in your country and fingerprint the people who are here and have a orderly way of bringing workers into the United States to work, to live, and to return home, to retire, or to live here on a permanent basis, whatever they choose. Because if you have an orderly way to do it, people are not going to sneak in across the border. If you have an orderly way to match up an employer with an employee and give that employee benefits and give that employee, make that employee not feel like they're a slave to the employer, and give that employee the ability to travel and to move and to get a driver's license. You wouldn't hear people saying, like they said to me at a dinner party 2 weeks ago. I was at a dinner party up in Squeeze's neighborhood,
Yep.
in White Greenwich, Connecticut, where Squeeze is the minority. And I was at a dinner party, and they said, I'm in favor of immigration. I just wish these people would be really thankful for what we give them. really thankful for being here in America. I said to them, I said, what the hell do we give them?
And they argued with you.
I said, what the hell do we give these people? We give them nothing. We can't even give them a goddamn driver's license. I said, I would be pretty pissed off. I said, if I was invited into somebody's home and I was treated that way, I would leave. I wouldn't be happy about being there. So how would you expect somebody to be thankful for what America gives them? America gives them nothing. I said, as a matter of fact, we're terrible hosts to these people. And if it really comes down to security, Squeeze, okay?
Yeah.
We're only talking about 3,500 people who've died from a terrorist attack in the United States in the last 15 years, and we've talked about all the other things that you could die more likely from, that nobody does anything about, that's cheaper to deal with, okay? And if you're really talking about security and they're talking about securing the border, how come they're only securing the border in the south?
Yeah, there's an area.
How come nobody's talking about securing the Canadian border? Do you know? Let me give all the listeners out there some information.
Sounds like racism right there.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. Let me give you some information, and this is what we talked about last night in Newark. Let me get you a little information. If you want to cross the border without inspection, okay, I don't know what part of Canada that is, but you go to the border where Wisconsin is, where Minnesota is, where Montana is, where North Dakota is. There's nobody there on the border. You can walk back and forth all day long, okay? And nobody's securing that border. Who knows how many terrorists are walking across there, all right? Nobody seems to have a problem with that. Nobody seems to have a problem with securing the border in North Dakota. They only want to secure the border in Mexico. Why? Because people who look different from us are coming across the border from Mexico versus Canadians look like us. That's the difference. Okay? So all of this security and all of this other stuff is nonsense. It comes down to that Americans, and I hate to say it, Americans, they look in the mirror and they don't want to see people who don't look like them. And that's what it comes down to. If you ask deep down into the soul of America, that's what this is all about. Okay? But you want to know what? You can't have it both ways. You can't have it for people to come here and work and do the jobs Americans don't want to do and then tell them you're not welcome in our country. Can't have it both ways.
Right.
Can't have it both ways, Squeeze.
So,
and that's basically what it is. So let me just give you a couple of
what should everyone do right now? I'm sorry to hurt everyone's egos or feeling or enthusiasm.
So who knows? So the bottom line is this:
don't trust them.
Who knows? Who knows when these laws are going to change? Nobody knows for sure. Okay, eventually it's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. Okay, because I believe in a fair America, and I believe that in the fairness of people, and I believe eventually the laws will change. They'll have no choice, but when? They have no choice. They can't deport everybody.
Right.
Okay? The economy would come to a halt. Families would be separated. And they don't have the money to do it. So even if they wanted to, they can't.
But in the interim, they're screwing
So what
us.
they're going to do is every so often you'll hear about a raid like happened in Long Island last month where they arrested 100 people so they can make a big deal about it in the newspaper. You see, we're doing something. And eventually, when the American people feel that the U.S. government has done something about cracking down on immigrants who are here out of status, at that point, they're going to turn around and say, we've squeezed them too much. What we're doing now is hurtful. Let's legalize them. Okay? Because really what it comes down to is at some point, common sense is going to come in and say, you know what we're doing to them is too painful, and it hurts us too much, it hurts everybody too much, and then we have to legalize them. So at what point does that hurt come in? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a year from now, 18 months from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. We don't know. Eventually it's going to happen. Okay? There's no question about it. It's just a matter of when. But in the meantime, you can't, as somebody who is there out of status in the United States, you can't rely on a politician that you have no control over, whether they get elected or not. You can't rely on a politician whose job is not dependent on what you think of them, because you don't vote for them. So they don't care what you think. They don't care what you think of them. They only care about keeping their jobs, so they have to keep the people who vote for them happy, not you, the immigrant. They don't, because the immigrants don't vote. Okay, that's the other problem.